Many of us as neurodivergents engage in avoidance as a default response. It's a defense mechanism. If we avoid people, interactions, situations that are similar to the negative ones we've had in the past, we can safeguard ourselves against those disastrous experiences happening again. We won't be rejected by people in an interaction. We won't be abandoned or betrayed by somebody that we've allowed to get close to us. We won't stumble into a social situation where we put our foot in our mouths and say something inappropriate and then are socially rejected as a result. Unfortunately, the mind has a way of not just avoiding those kinds of situations, it becomes a heat-seeking rocket for anything even like it. So inevitably, you will identify anything that's proximate or similar to, and you'll avoid that as well. And so the kind of radius of experiences that you're going to avoid expands and expands until it engulfs a lot of your life. And it becomes, like I said, a default, and we become oblivious of the extent to which we've designed a life based on that avoidance. It becomes hardwired in that we're going to just avoid things that trigger uncertainty or could have possibly a negative consequence, which is a lot of situations or experiences, and then we're just going to steer clear of it. And we won't even think about it logically. We won't consciously think it through. We'll just go with whatever our gut feeling is. I don't want to do this. I don't like this situation. No, this doesn't sound okay. It doesn't sound like my kind of thing. And we might then provide rationalizations. Oh, I don't like those kinds of people, those kinds of situations, those kinds of interactions. And that is a shield, and it can protect us, but it can also constrict us because we miss out on life-giving relationships, meaningful interactions, enriching experiences that could bring so much more to our lives. Because we're so caught in that avoidance cycle that we can't even imagine the possibilities that could come. We fixate on the negatives because of perseverative thinking. And again, perseverative thinking, I always talk about it. It's this combination of worrying about the future, ruminating about the past, and obsessing. We get so caught up in that process that we can't even imagine the possibility of something positive coming out of those experiences. And we then marshal an argument in favor of not engaging in those experiences. And the rationalizations stack. And then we have, like a little tome of reasonings and that keep us trapped in this kind of mental maze of, oh no, I can't because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this. And then we stack the facts in favor of an argument against engaging in life. It's always engaging in avoidance. There are so many assessments and rationalizations and strings of logic that we've arrived at that will keep us backed in that corner with our back turned to the world. And I don't want to diminish the value of this defense mechanism or its purpose in our lives, because it's in some situations in which we're entrapped, like school. When we're growing up, we can't get out of school. We're surrounded by people like bullies who will target and harass us because of our differences. It makes sense that you might want to engage in avoidance as a default response. But when you get out of that box, when you get out of that entrapment, you have greater latitude as an adult, hopefully. You can choose to some extent the environments you're in. Those defense mechanisms may be maladaptive. They don't necessarily serve us anymore. They become constricting, like I said, and they prevent you from getting out of that narrow box. And it's kind of like in Japan, where they made watermelons out of square. The way they make them is they kind of create a case that the watermelon grows into, and it confines that watermelon to that shape. And I don't know if I'm stretching the metaphor a little bit too much here, but I feel like human beings are the same. If you confine yourself to a little box, you're going to grow into that shape, and you can't go outside of that, the confines of that. You can't even conceive of a life outside of that. And as a result, you go through world in a very kind of hamstrung way. You're inhibited. You're not able to completely reach your full potential, your growth, achieve the kinds of connections that you crave and will fulfill you, and you're focused too much on survival instead of thriving. Coming out of avoidance is a big challenge because it comes with the risk that you're going to face those negative experiences again, but it also comes with the promise of experiencing new wonderful things. And if you're not willing to take that risk, you remain like that watermelon, confined to that box and grown into that kind of abnormal shape. And you don't get the experiences or the opportunities to expand that you might otherwise need to thrive. And I often find working as a therapist who is neurodivergent with neurodivergent clients is I'm often arguing for them to come out of that box. And there's a wall of opposition internally that's built on these negative experiences. There's this, like I said, the tome of arguments in favor of avoidance. And it's this constant process of us kind of coaxing, me as a therapist and individuals who are neurodivergent with these complex trauma and these experiences, coaxing ourselves out of that box, coaxing ourselves into the belief that maybe it is possible that not all experiences that are similar to the negative experiences we've had in the past are going to end up that same way. Not fortune telling and looking to our crystal ball of negativity and anticipating catastrophe down the road, being open to the possibility of things maybe going right rather than going wrong. Have you struggled with this as a neurodivergent? Have you leaned into avoidance to the extent that you're not even aware how much you're avoiding things in life? And then maybe somebody says something or you become aware of it and you're like, oh, wow, I could have done X, Y, Z, and I completely avoided it as an instinctive knee-jerk response. And how many opportunities have I missed as a result of avoidance? How many connections have I foregone? How many relationships could I have enjoyed if I'd been willing to come out of that box? I would love to hear all about your experiences.